Greetings. Welcome to another day of story time. It is Tuesday, April 14th. I hope all is well. I hope I'm reaching you at a good time. This is day 30 of me bringing stories to you. And I'm looking forward to sharing another story. Hello to my nephew, Django. So we shall begin. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine in the stories that I read every day. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another day of story time with Dr. Tinsley. And I have two great stories to read to you today. The first one is a folk tale called When the Monkeys Came Back by Kristine Franklin. When the monkeys came back. When Donna Marta was a very little girl, the valley was a peaceful place. Children giggled as they chased each other between rows of tall corn. Fathers whistled as they dug in the gardens. Mothers hummed softly as they wrapped black beans and cornmeal in banana leaves to cook. There was one old road in the valley, but it was an ox cart road, an open place for meeting friends or cousins, a nice place for walking, a sunny place for catching lizards. There weren't any cars at all. The valley was a quiet place, except when the monkeys called. Every morning and every evening, for as long as anyone could remember, the monkeys announced the changing of night into day, the changing of day into night. At dawn, they would howl and bark to one another, and the noise they made was like thunder in the trees. At dusk, they would hoot and scream, and each leaf and each blade of grass would tremble from the sound. One day, a car chugged and spluttered up the old road. After that, more cars came, not many at first, for the road was an ox road, not a car road. Marta was afraid of the cars. The sound and smell made her hide behind her mother's skirt. More and more cars came, and trucks, and more noise. Before long, it wasn't safe to walk down the middle of the road, to stand and talk, to chase the quick lizards. Still, the monkeys shouted from the trees, drowning out all the new noises for a few moments each day, hooting to one another as they always had, waking up the world in the morning, calling the workers home from the fields at night. The rains came and went, and Marta's dress grew too short. And one day, some men from the city came to Marta's house. They offered her father a lot of money, enough to buy 6 cows and a brand new dress for Marta, and asked to cut down some trees on the side of the mountain. Marta's father agreed, and from that day on, the forest began to disappear. At first, it was just a few trees. The lumbermen cut down only the biggest trees, the ones with the hanging vines. The monkeys didn't seem to mind. They howled and barked and scolded just as before. But 5 years later, when there were only 24 trees left in the forest, the monkeys went away. Marta didn't know where the monkeys went. One night, just as the sun slipped behind the hills, the monkeys shrieked and hooted and cried louder than ever before. Some said it was because of the full moon. Others said the rainy season was near. But the next morning, the valley was as silent as a stone. Over the next several years, the last of the trees were cut down. What had once been a forest was now covered with stumps and tangled brush. There were a few birds, but no monkeys. Most people forgot about the monkeys. They had roosters to wake them up in the morning, lamps to work by at night. But Marta didn't forget. When she was 15 years old, Marta married Emilio. Emilio worked for Marta's father, and when her father died, he left his farm to Marta and Emilio. "You have a lot of land now," said Marta one day. "I would like to have some of it for myself." Emilio laughed out loud because in those days women did not own land. "Soon we will have a family to feed," said Emilio. "After I plant corn and beans and squash, there will be nothing left over to give you. The rest of the land belongs to the cows." "What about the land on the side of the mountain?" asked Marta. "There are too many stumps for a garden and it's too steep for cows." "That's true," agreed Emilio, and though it went against the custom, he gave the land on the side of the mountain to Marta. "What are you going to do with your land?" asked Emilio. "I'm going to bring back the forest," said Marta, and that is what she did. Marta planted trees from the foot of the mountain to as far up as she could climb. When the sun baked the ground in the dry season, she hauled buckets of water to the trees. When the hard rains washed the little trees from the soil, she gently replanted them. Year after year, Marta took care of the trees. In the next 15 years, she gave birth to 11 children. Each child learned to plant and tend trees. Year after year, Marta's children grew tall, and so did the trees. "Coffee grows well on a mountain," Emilio would tease. "Maybe you could plant coffee on your land." But Marta didn't listen. She didn't change her mind, and the forest came back. Many more years passed. The trees grew higher and higher. Marta's children grew up and had children of their own. Emilio died and left the farm to Marta and her sons. One day, Donna Marta took a walk along the road in the warm sunshine. The children greeted her as she passed. "Good morning, tree lady," they said. "Good morning," answered Donna Marta with a wink and an old smile. She leaned on her stick and stared across the valley. Her trees touched the sky. Thick vines wrapped around their trunks. Birds of every color filled their branches. Now, whenever they dropped their seeds, new trees would grow. The valley was bright with squash and corn and beans, but the side of the mountain was a deep, dark green forest green. Donna Marta's work was finished. One night, Donna Marta couldn't sleep. As she lay in her bed, she listened to the sounds of the insects, the twittering of the night birds. Out her little window, she watched the stars trail across the black sky. She watched the moon shadows shift and change in her room. As dawn approached, she heard the roosters begin to crow, and then she heard another sound. At first, it sounded like the barking of dogs, but soon the barking turned into howling, the howling into shrieking, the shrieks into shouts, and every leaf and every blade of grass trembled with the sound. Donna Marta hobbled to the window and leaned out. The dark air thundered with the sound of monkeys hooting howling, screaming from the treetops, waking up the whole world once again. Donna Marta closed her eyes, smiled a wrinkled smile, and listened to the music she had missed for 56 long years. Every morning now, old Donna Marta wakes up to the barking and scolding of the monkeys. Every evening, she waits for them to gather in the trees to shriek and howl and say goodnight. For a few minutes each morning and evening, the sound of the monkeys drowns out all the other sounds in the valley. For a few moments each day, it's as if nothing had ever changed. And that, my dear friends, is the story of when the monkeys came back. Hello there, my nephew Django. Hi, Aunt Carol, and hi, Catherine. And to anyone else watching, greetings to you today. My second book is another one of my favorite children's authors because he writes lots and lots of funny books. And the author is Robert Munsch. And this is The Paper Bag Princess. He writes so many funny books for children. So if you have young children, you will love Robert Munsch's books. And it's Munsch. Okay, and the illustrator is Michael Marchenko. The Paper Bag Princess. Hello, Sam. Elizabeth was a beautiful princess. She lived in a castle and had expensive princess clothes. She was going to marry a prince named Ronald. Unfortunately, a dragon smashed her castle, burned all her clothes with his fiery breath, and carried off Prince Ronald. Elizabeth decided to chase the dragon and get Ronald back. She looked everywhere for something to wear, but the only thing she could find that was not burnt was a paper bag. So she put on the paper bag and followed the dragon. He was easy to follow because he left a trail of burnt forest and horses' bones. Finally, Elizabeth came to a cave with a large door that had a huge knocker on it. She took hold of the knocker and banged on the door. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Well, a princess. I love to eat princesses, but I have already eaten a whole castle today. I'm a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." He slammed the door so fast that Elizabeth almost got her nose caught. Elizabeth grabbed the knocker and banged on the door again. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Go away. I love to eat princesses, but I have already eaten a whole castle today. I'm a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." "Wait," shouted Elizabeth. "Is it true that you're the smartest and fiercest dragon in the whole world?" "Yes," said the dragon. "Is it true," said Elizabeth, "that you can burn up 10 forests with your fiery breath?" "Oh, yes," said the dragon. And he took a huge deep breath and breathed so much fire that he burnt up 50 forests. "Fantastic," said Elizabeth. And the dragon took another huge breath and breathed out so much fire that he burnt up 100 forests. "Magnificent," said Elizabeth. And the dragon took another huge breath, but this time nothing came out. The dragon didn't even have enough fire left to cook a meatball. Elizabeth said, "Dragon, is it true that you can fly around the world in just 10 seconds?" "Why, yes," said the dragon. and jumped up and flew all the way around the world in just 10 seconds. He was very tired when he got back, but Elizabeth shouted, "Fantastic! Do it again." So the dragon jumped up and flew around the whole world in just 20 seconds. When he got back, he was too tired to talk, and he lay down and went straight to sleep. Elizabeth whispered very softly, "Hey, dragon." The dragon didn't move at all. She lifted up the dragon's ear and put her head right inside. She shouted as loud as she could, "Hey, dragon!" The dragon was so tired he didn't even move. Elizabeth walked right over to the dragon and opened the door to the cave. There was Prince Ronald. He looked at her and said, "Elizabeth, you are a mess. You smell like ashes. Your hair is all tangled, and you're wearing a dirty old paper bag. Come back when you are dressed like a real princess." Oh, shoot, dropped the book. Sorry about that. Dropped the book. "Ronald," said Elizabeth, "your clothes are really pretty, and your hair is very neat. You look like a real princess, but you are a bum." They didn't get married after all. And that is the story of the paper bag princess. So it's a take, on the old fairy tales, the princess always marries the prince. In this one, she decided she was enough. So I see someone that joined. Hello, Hannah. This is my granddaughter. Hi, sweetie. I call her Ladybug. And hi, Tintawi, my daughter. I don't know if it's Tintawi's favorite book or Hannah's, but it's one of my favorite books too. So today was When the Monkeys Came Back and The Paper Bag Princess. I hope you enjoyed the stories. Oops, excuse me. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, be safe, be well, read. Take the time to read to the children. Curl up on your bed, on your couch, wherever you can with a book. And to the adults, lay on your couch, go in your cozy spot, find a book, curl up with a book. It's better to spend more time reading than watching TV because reading stimulates your mind in a different way. So with that said, be well, stay safe, and I shall see you same time, same place tomorrow. Peace.